episode 31. Welcome to Tech Twice Weekly for December 8th, 2014. This is your source for the most important technology news stories and discussion every Monday and Thursday evening. I'm your host, Ben White, and tonight I'm joined by my good friend, Eric Fee. How's it going this Monday, man?
What's up, dude?
Day one of the week out of the way.
Well, I still gotta do this stuff.
This is what you look forward to all day, right?
Oh, yeah, of course. Can't hold me back.
At least the work day is over. That's the important part. I mean, this isn't work, so.
Sure.
All right. Well, we'll jump into the headlines, and I'll take care of the heavy lifting. Kicking things off today is a report from The Verge that Mozilla is back to considering the idea of bringing Firefox to iOS. Mozilla release manager Lucas Black tweeted that the organization needed to be where their users are, and that meant putting Firefox on iOS. Mozilla had previously said they wouldn't release Firefox for iOS due to the limitations Apple puts on developers. But as of iOS 8, Apple has opened up access to their JavaScript engine, which previously was only available to the native iOS Safari browser. It's for this reason that earlier versions of Google Chrome ran slower than the native Safari browser. Recode is covering news that a new challenge to the Comcast Time Warner cable merger has appeared, and it's called Stop Mega Comcast. The coalition is made up of 15 public interest groups, competing pay TV operators, as well as other organizations such as Dish Network and the Parents Television Council, the Consumer Federation of America, and the Writers Guild of America West, that have publicly come out against the deal. The group's stated goal is to create a broader, more united front on the transaction, and believes that the current merger conditions being considered are inadequate. Additionally, the FCC has restarted its internal countdown clock for considering the deal to end Wednesday morning. However, the FCC also has a long history of missing their own deadlines for merger considerations. What do you think of this whole Comcast Time Warner merger, Eric? Is this even a concern to you?
I don't think it'll go through, but I'm just floored by the audacity of these companies who basically already have a monopoly where they are, and so they're just trying to build a monopoly where they're not.
You mean Comcast and Time Warner, not the coalition, right?
Right, Comcast Time Warner, yeah. I'm glad that people are standing up to them and getting together. They should be. In fact, we all should be.
Yeah. The timing on this is really suspect to me, too, because this merger is trying to happen at the same time as we're trying to figure out this net neutrality debate. And I almost would feel much more comfortable about the merger if net neutrality was something that was settled. Because
Agreed.
right now, I think it puts way too much power in their hands to sway that debate.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with the FCC, but they're just not doing their job. And they've been shown that that's what they're going to do, is not anything.
And I guess from the public perspective, all we can do is lean on them. Take the opportunity, call the FCC, write the FCC, email the FCC, continue to make your voice heard. They're a private organization. They make whatever decision they want. Even the President of the United States can't enforce or force them to do anything. So it's just a matter of making sure that public opinion is documented and clear. That's all we really have control over. In follow-up news, moving on to our next story here, following up on the Sony hack that we covered last week, Tweaktown reports on a warning issued by the FBI to other businesses. While Sony has done their best to lock down their systems after the attack that leaked several unreleased movies and the personal information for many current and former Sony employees, the FBI wants other businesses to be aware that the malware behind the Sony attack is still out there. The malware not only steals data, but also overwrites all information on the storage device, making it exceptionally difficult to recover lost data. Of course, because the malware is just simply software, even personal computers can technically become victims. So, as usual with this sort of thing, the rule of thumb: don't download files from places you're not familiar with. Don't open files that you don't know their origin, and you should be all right. Um, don't if you find a thumb drive laying around, don't just shove it in your computer and hope for the best. That's how viruses happen,
And STDs.
and STDs. That's serial transmitted devices, right?
How'd you know?
Tweaktown is also reporting on Google retiring their ReCAPTCHA system in favor of a new NoCAPTCHA, Google's newest version of their spam/script filtering tool. While ReCAPTCHA worked to filter spammers and malicious scripts by asking users to enter randomly generated and distorted text, this has become ineffective, and they are now as there are now scripts allowing 99.8% of all reCAPTCHA images to be deciphered. Instead, the new NoCAPTCHA creates, instead of creating puzzles that were difficult for scripts to answer or spammers to beat originally, the NoCAPTCHA system functions by simply asking the user if they are a robot. Once the user answers, "I'm not a robot," by simply clicking the choice in a checkbox, they are allowed through the form or to submit or whatever they're doing. Of course, this alone wouldn't be security enough, but while asking a simple question to the user, Google is taking advantage of data that can be collected through the internet browser, which includes looking at the user's activity before, after, and during the no CAPTCHA question, as well as looking at the user's mouse movements, in addition to other signals Google isn't willing to share in an effort to maintain the system's effectiveness. And if all else fails, Google will roll back to the reCAPTCHA system for users they can't get that information from. What do you think of this system? I mean, I know we all hate CAPTCHAs. They're the bane of our existence, but I think this new system has potential, but I think there's still some downfalls to be worried about.
It just seems a little bit weird that they're going to use their giant information database of tracking everybody to figure out if we're a robot or not. But at the same time, they still already kind of do stuff like that, and they still kind of are going to like take all the information. So I guess if they're using it to make my life a little easier, and I don't have to watch some stupid commercial or read a stupid number plate off a house that looks like it's a mile away, then I'm fine with that.
And that's so true. But the one concern I have with this new no CAPTCHA, and wasn't mentioned in the Tweaktown article or Google's own blog post on the subject, was about the how well this system is going to work for handicapped or disabled people. Reaching for a checkbox that says "I'm not a robot" is great if your vision works, but I wonder how well it's going to work with a screen reader for those who are visually impaired. Or, I mean, I guess if you're deaf, it's not such a big deal. You're still using your mouse and your eyeballs. But depending on how much weight they put on the mouse movement, it could also impact those with um, mobile disabilities. You know, if you can't move your mouse or you're moving your mouse with your eyes or some other form of alternate input.
You
Can
still have to do basic, like current captchas still have their own problems with accessibility, and a lot of them have nowadays they have like a blind option for those who can't read what's on the screen, and then they have the text option for those who can't hear what's going through the headphones. And I don't think that this is going to be any worse. I don't know how they're going to implement it, of course, and I can't try to speculate, but I will say that screen readers are fairly advanced nowadays, and not like JAWS, but stuff like the screen reader that's used in the Apple iPad is really popular. And it's becoming very popular, and it's very supportive of regular web page type stuff. And there's much more support out there nowadays for the ARIA attributes and all that. I think that there's no reason why there should be an accessibility problem with this any more than there is with the current CAPTCHA.
Right, and I definitely would hope so. I mean, if there is, it's a big oversight on Google's part. And I tried to get my eyes on the new NoCAPTCHA system because apparently WordPress and Humble Bundle have implemented it already, but I wasn't able to get prompted for it. Currently, WordPress is sending about 60% of their traffic through the new system, and Humble Bundle is now sending 80% of their traffic through the new CAPTCHA. But after a couple attempts, I wasn't able to get myself prompted to it. So I haven't had a chance to see it hands on, but I like the idea. I love the idea of getting rid of the reCAPTCHA concept and trying to read a distorted image that looks like it was a poorly scanned book or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, the next story we got here is one for Chromecast owners, or if you're thinking of getting a Chromecast as a gift or purchasing one for yourself over the holidays, GigaOM is covering some free perks Google has begun offering to both new and current Chromecast owners. If you purchase a new Chromecast from virtually any vendor from what I've seen, between December 7th and December 21st, you'll be eligible for $20 in Google Play credit, which can be used to buy anything except devices. If you happen to purchase your Chromecast from a Costco store, however, you'll get the extra perks of Sesame Street Go for free for 3 months, as well as access to Daily Burn fitness workouts for 2 months, and $25 in Google Play store credit. Again, eligible for anything except device purchases. Lastly, if you own a Chromecast and you have it hooked up to your local Wi-Fi, then you may be eligible for a free copy of the first X-Men movie, as well as 3 free months of the service Drama Fever and 2 free months of Hulu Plus, as well as 90 days free of the Google Play Music service, which should also include the YouTube Music Key service now that those two are hooked together. So, little something for everybody. I haven't had a chance to check it out yet. I don't use my Chromecast terribly often, so I got to plug it in and see if I can get access to it. But hey, something for nothing. Nothing wrong there. Engadget shares news on President Barack Obama hosting a computer science workshop at the White House today. Well, that alone is interesting enough. President Obama himself actually participated in the event as well as hosting it. Using Google's Blockley tool, the president created a small code snippet that draws a square on the screen. Nothing too impressive on its own, but this does make Barack Obama the first U.S. president to write a computer company, a computer program of any kind. And it directly supports the workshop's message that anyone can learn to code. Now, Eric, I know you do a lot of programming. You're very familiar with lots of different languages. What do you think about this? The idea of America's president actually writing some basic code?
It's pretty awesome, man. Not just being a figurehead for some gathering, but actually interacting with it and attempting to do his own thing. I don't know what Blocky is, so I'm not sure how impressed I should be, but I'm I really find it kind of cool that it was like he was something he was involved in. I think it's very awesome.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up Blockley and see if I can get a better idea of exactly what that is. Oh, interesting. It is. Let me put the link in the chat here. It is a puzzle piece based programming interface.
Interesting.
So you piece together um, if then statements. So the example on the website here is if count, which is a separate piece, is greater than 256, which is another variable. So you're making the statement count greater than 256, do set count to 0, print game over. I
Interesting.
it's a good visual approach to the very basic fundamentals of programming.
Yeah, this looks to be something for a teaching aid more than anything else.
Yeah, I definitely don't think it's intended to be a actual development language, but
Pretty
I
cool.
like the visual implementation of it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And if you can get somebody bit with the programming bug, more power to them.
Agreed.
I'll have to play with this and see if I can come up with something stupid to show off later. It can be once you write it in these puzzle pieces, it can be exported as JavaScript, Python, or other languages.
Yeah, that's very cool. I would look forward to seeing what you could make with that. Sincerely, I would. It'd be fun to see.
Yeah, no, kind of curious to see what I come up with. Usually, my problem when I try and program is often less about understanding and actually more about I'm terrible about coming up with ideas to program. That tends to actually be my shortfall,
Do what everyone else does, man. Make Hangman or, you know, poker.
right? Well, our last story of the evening is from BGR. Rumors are starting to circulate about the specs on Samsung's next smartphone, the Galaxy S6. BGR is passing along the reports that Samsung is expected to be designing the new Galaxy S6 smartphone from scratch after poor sales of the S4 and S5 smartphones in the last couple of years. And now a screenshot has been leaked from the Chinese publication CNMO.com that shows a device model SM-G925F, which is expected to be the S6. The screenshot shows that the device is running some pretty impressive hardware under Android 5.0 with a Samsung Exynos 7420 octa-core 64-bit processor. That's 8 cores running 64-bit, along with an ARM GPU powering a 5.5-inch display at 1440 by 2560 resolution and 3 gigabytes of system memory. At this time, Samsung has made no comment on the leaked screenshot. What do you think? Is there really a purpose for 8 cores in a phone? That seems to be more. I have got to think that's marketing more than anything else.
I don't know. It depends if they. It depends what that's for. Having a group of low-powered cores is more energy efficient because they can be shut off whenever they want independently. So you can have multiple small cores doing little things at the same time, instead of having to wait for one faster processor core to get a bunch of work done. Um, and like I said, they can be shut off independently, so you can be running on one or two, and then you pop open a game or something, and it spins up everything else. There's also always uh, cores that are dedicated for certain things. So if you have one doing, sound, or one doing whatever, that kind of deal. I'm actually pretty excited about it being 64-bit. We haven't seen a whole lot of 64-bit phones out yet, and to push the 4 gig memory, we're going to need to have 64-bit processors.
Yeah, no, 64 is definitely going to be the wave of the future, especially now that Android Lollipop is out, so you can have 64-bit support at the OS level. All right, well, those are all our stories for this evening, which takes us into our tech toys you wish you could buy. And I've just got one that caught my eye, and it's a project on Indiegogo called the Carbon Flyer. It is supposed to be a crash-proof video drone that's controlled through a smartphone device. And what makes this interesting is that it, I guess what they're trying to sell here is it's got a carbon fiber airframe, and the design is supposed to be ultra low drag, so you get high speed, good control, but with the carbon fiber, you cut off a lot of weight. So you get a lot more fly time because you're not having to haul a lot of the traditional weight around in some of these drones. The For me, what I think the downside is they've decided to control it with a Bluetooth 4.0 radio and a smartphone app. So you're a little bit limited on range there. I mean, Bluetooth 4.0 is definitely better than previous iterations, but it's still not a radio frequency. It's not your traditional radio frequency that a lot of the homebrew drones are using to get more range. Uh, but the carbon fiber is going to add a lot of durability. And if you want to get in on this, right now they're marketing an MSRP of $149, but you can buy in for $99. That's the special they're running right now. And that's going to get you the drone with a video camera built in and a display stand as well. So when you're not flying, I guess you have somewhere to perch it. Um, what do you think about this? I know we've talked a little bit about cameras before, but this is an interesting design, and $100 isn't a bad price to buy in at a drone.
No, 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 it's not. When I looked at it, it looked more like a plane than a quad. It looked like a plane, not a quadcopter. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's definitely not a quadcopter because it doesn't have four rotors. It flies and is powered by vector by two propeller blades that are mounted into the wings. Interestingly enough, um, so they got what they call um, the vector steering. It's this V-shaped wing pattern, and embedded in each of the wings is a 7 millimeter coreless motor, and then that powers both front and steering of the plane, the drone, whatever you want to call it. And so power is reduced to one motor, causing it to turn in that direction. And it's a servoless design, so there's no moving parts apparently.
What's the fly time on a charge?
Let's see if they specify here. The Carbon Flyer is powered by a rechargeable, hot swappable 3.7 volt, 150 milliamp hour lithium battery capable of approximately 3 minutes of flight time.
That's well, I guess the range doesn't really matter. You're not getting too far in, 3 minutes.
Right? Yeah. That is a little disappointing to see, actually. I mean, I would hope for at least 15 minutes or so. But I guess this is, if you look at it, the fact that you're not buying a product. I mean, you have to really fight that urge on these crowdfunding sites to remember you're not buying a product, you're investing in an idea. And for version 1.0 out the door, I suppose the fact that it's functional is what's most impressive.
Yeah, well, yeah, 3 minutes is not a whole lot of time in the air. That looks kind of like a deal breaker for most people just because it's like you can buy a $10 helicopter toy that'll fly a little bit longer than that and have greater range. And it's just like, like if you want to have something that's fun and you don't care if you break it, you just want to fly it around for a while and jump up and down and give the controller to your kid or to your other buddies so they can crash it instead of you, then like a $10 helicopter might be a better way to go, honestly. Or a paper airplane. Those are almost free.
Right? Yeah. They do offer for $40, you can get a non-powered carbon fiber airplane with a protective tip and a rubber band launcher. Um, so,
So a paper airplane.
and, a carbon fiber airplane. You pull it back and slingshot the sucker.
Well, you might be able to get better. You might be able to keep it in the air longer than the powered one if you
You actually
get
set
a
it in
tailwind.
for a long flight. Yeah. Of course, the problem is you're just going to shoot this thing onto somebody's roof.
Yep. Just buy one ticket to the Grand Canyon.
Oh, you get four. Uh, oh, let's see. If you step down for $25, you can get four coasters.
You
So it's
might get some airtime with those at the Grand Canyon.
the carbon fiber material cut into squares. That's exciting.
Totally.
I don't know. If I had a spare $100 just laying around, I'd consider it. I mean, I agree with you though. The 3 minute flight time is pretty crushing. There's
I'd get
still
a really nice steak at a really nice restaurant. About $100 long.
their selling point is the batteries are hot swappable, which I don't really understand why they use that term because it's not like it's not a big deal to stop flying, take the battery out. Maybe they're saying hot swappable because you don't have to repair it back to the phone every 3 minutes when you're swapping batteries. Maybe that's what they're trying to imply. But if I have to bring it home after 3 minutes or go find where it crashes because the battery runs out,
It won't get too far away from you with Bluetooth.
right? I mean, what is the range on Bluetooth 4.0 anyway?
I think that it can get pretty far, actually.
Let's see what Wikipedia has to say. Bluetooth smart technology operates in the same spectrum range. Theoretical max is 300 is over 330 feet.
Yeah, cool.
While sustaining a 1 megabit data connection.
Groovy.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, I'm going with the $10 plane.
Get one of those balsa wood deals.
Well, that too. Those have possible batteries too. They're called my hand and a rubber band.
Right.
Um,
I like the idea, but it's a toy at the end of the day. And it's in the high end of toys, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But It's a toy. It's not a tool. It's not something that's going to make my life better. It's just a toy. And $100 is a lot of money for a toy. I think there's a lot better options for $100. Maybe not with a camera, but if I'm only getting 3 minutes of video or photography out of it, I'd rather put more money and get something better in the long run anyway.
Yeah, there are, remote control little flying helicopters and stuff like that for $20 that will fly longer and go further, and you can buy 5 of them. You might only be able to crash them once, but you can crash 5 of them 5 times.
Right. And even if they don't have a camera, I would trade longer flight time for 3 minutes of video isn't even worth it. I'm going to take a minute and a half of it taking off and getting off the ground, and a minute and a half of coming back and landing at best.
Yeah, not only that, but you might be screwed by high winds too.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, depending on how much weight they've shed off this thing, that's a pretty viable concern.
Anyways, yeah, I'm gonna
Oh,
give this a pass.
yeah. I mean, and all of them do come with $10 shipping that's not included in your price as well, which always kind of bothers me. Personally, if I was setting up a crowdfunding Kickstarter or Indiegogo, I would always list free shipping. Just roll the price of shipping into the perk. Don't tell people they're paying for shipping. Everyone loves to hear they're getting free shipping. Ooh, it
Even
comes.
when they're paying for it one way or another, but they don't want to. They like to put one price in once into the Kickstarter and then walk away and get something in 6 months.
Right. Telling somebody that I have to back $100 plus $10 for shipping, to me, that turns me off right there.
Early on in Kickstarters, I kickstarted a wallet. There's a lot of wallets on there, so I mean, a lot of us have them. But I kickstarted a wallet. I liked it. I wore one for a long time, and I kickstarted like $15 and got or $20 and got 2 wallets. Yeah, if they had said, "Oh yeah, $10 shipping," I'd be like, "Okay, I don't even want it." Get on
Right?
my face.
Now, if they charged $25 and just $5 of that covered shipping and you never knew it, you probably would have still pulled the trigger.
Exactly. So
The marketing.
plus, yeah, shipping and volume too. It can get much cheaper than $10 as well.
Yeah.
So
And it's marketing. I think a lot of people who fail at Kickstarter and crowdfunding don't understand marketing. None of these guys are succeeding, I should say. They have 130. They were looking for $50,000. They have $130,260. They're 261% over goal. So this project's happening. There's still 32 days left on it if you want to get in and back it. It wraps up on January 9th at midnight of next year. So lots of time if you're looking to buy in. The current deal for the $100 plane um, has 10,000 available. 189 have been claimed. So if you're into it, if you have a spare $110 laying around, you can't find something better to do with, this is worth considering. I'm not in that situation, so like you said, Eric, I'm going to pass. All right, well, that moves us on to our discussion topics for the evening, winding things down. The first story I have for discussion here is from Recode, and it's a discussion just about Nintendo, the business, and how they're doing transitioning from, well, if you go far enough back, a playing card manufacturer, to today's Wii U and their 3DS handhelds, and how well they're doing keeping up with the times. Have you been, or I should say, are you a fan of Nintendo over the years?
well, yeah, I mean, we kind of all are. People our age, we grew up with a lot of that. It was kind of in our childhood. We were young enough where Mario was ingrained, and when we were going through our younger years. We were in the leading edge of the Mario franchise, and we got to experience a lot of that kind of stuff right in the beginning, and it kind of wiggled its way into our heart. So I think that most people who play video games during their younger years is a Mario fan in some form, myself included. I don't currently own any Nintendo products. I don't plan to. They aren't really very compelling right now. Personally, I see a lot of other game companies coming out with some really compelling stuff, and I see Mario. I see a lot of Nintendo's rehashed games and retold stories. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I put an ungodly amount of hours into different Mario games here and there, and now I'm just like, well, I kind of had a lot of Nintendo. I don't really see, I don't really have a drive to go out there and get more. I think a lot of people may feel that way, which is why they're having problems generating revenue with their kind of casual gamer and character and game rehashes.
And did you have any of the early consoles growing up?
Yeah, I had a Nintendo and an N64, uh, which I spent just insane amount of hours on. I was also lucky enough to have a Sega Genesis and a PlayStation at at the similar times as those came out, and that was also really cool. I had a Game Boy, pretty awesome.
Yeah,
Lucky kids.
I have super fond memories of the early Nintendo systems. I had the SNES as my first real console. I remember early days saving up my allowance and saving up Christmas money and birthday money, and I went on eBay and found an original Game Boy that I picked up. It was my first eBay purchase, and I won it at auction. And then because I did that, my parents treated me with Pokemon Blue. And of course, then I had one, and so my sister had to have one, so she ended up getting one with Pokemon Red, and we got the connector cable. We would trade Pokemon. I'd kick her ass. Uh, Great memories of Nintendo. Like I put so many hours on so many family road trips and chewed through so many AA batteries.
I remember going to school and training Pokemon with kids at school.
Right? I was on the bus. I had the connector cable looping over the back seat. I had all 151 Pokemon in Pokemon Blue, including Mewtwo.
Yeah, oh yeah, I had one of those unknown glitch guys. That was awesome.
Nice. But the thing, and I think that's just it, though. We've got these vintage memories, but then we look at the next generation and the next generation and the next generation, and Nintendo just couldn't keep up. I mean, I loved the Wii. I had a lot of fun on it, but it's not nearly as memorable as the SNES was.
Yeah, to me, the Wii really was like the console that other people owned, and I would go over and play at their house with them. But I never really had any drive to buy one. It's not like I had an Xbox for a while, a 360 for a while, and that was really awesome to play by myself and with others. But looking at all the Nintendo consoles right now, I'm just like, eh.
Right? Exactly. I mean, I've had my eye on picking up a Wii U for a couple of years now. I've been to PAX for the past 3 years, and every year I sit down and play on a Wii U, and I walk away really wanting one. And then I get home, I get unpacked, go back to business as usual. I never carry that need beyond a weekend of enjoyment. And I don't really have an answer for what Nintendo needs to do to fix that problem, but I don't think they can continue doing what they're doing if they want to stay in business. I think the business model has to change in some way.
Well, the first Wii sold a lot of consoles, but it was so cheap, and a lot of people would buy those kinds of things second, or buy them for their kids because they were, here's a game console, dude. enjoy. But I don't really know a lot of people that sat down and played on them specifically, like some of my friends play on their Xboxes or PlayStations. And it's just hard to see that, along with the fact that it just feels like Nintendo's not making anything new. Nintendo's not making anything very exciting. I mean, yes, I've always liked a lot of the Nintendo franchises, but it just gets to the point where I'm just like, you know what? I've had enough Samus Aran. It's just like we need to have new characters, new stories. We don't need to keep rehashing the same fairy tales, the same Bible stories, the same everything to put in movies. There really are people out there with creative minds who are making up something new and who are bringing to us a story that needs to be told. Either an interactive story like a video game, uh, a, a a passive story like a movie or a book. There's so much new and vibrant content out there that I don't really see a lot of value in remaking something over and over again.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing is that Nintendo's main properties are nostalgic for those of us who grew up on them, but it's really hard for a new audience to come into them. Um, Not that they're difficult to pick up or the stories have deep historic roots or anything, but when you compare them to some of the depth in stories of the Halo franchise on Xbox or the I think Far Cry series on PlayStation, or what was the big PlayStation title everyone was in love with in the last year? Um,
Last of Us.
Last of Us. Yeah, that's the one with the guy and his daughter that escaped the zombies. Nintendo has never had a story like that. They need something deep and driving and in a way more adult, I think, and a more adult story. And not necessarily adult as in content, but just adult in the level of comprehension.
Well, I mean, just imagine sitting a kid down in front of Super Mario World or Mario 64 and saying, "You can play this," or sitting them down in front of like Bastion or Goat Simulator or something like that and saying, "Or you can play this,"
Yeah, yeah.
and it's like no brainer, you know.
Right. Well, and I think the other problem Nintendo's having is Steam. With Steam and its rapid growth of indie developers getting their titles launched on Steam, I think the PC gaming has really taken off in the last couple of years. And whereas Nintendo, maybe it was your B console when you had friends over and wanted to play games or just wanted something quick you could pick up and play for a little bit and not get too deeply involved and walk away from. I think the PC is filling that space, and even crappier laptops can run a lot of these well-made, beautiful indie games that just don't require a lot of horsepower.
Totally. And I'm seeing that people are getting used to doing more games online and games with friends, on cell phones and stuff. Richard and a lot of his cronies are playing Clash of Clans. This is becoming pretty popular, which is an Android cell phone game and looks pretty neat, I guess. And so it's like when you have a game you can play at your leisure and with your friends, who wants to have to wait across traffic in rush hour and skip dinner to play Wii?
Yeah, and I think that's exactly the issue right there. Um, and like I said, I don't know what the answer for Nintendo is, but they've got to come up with something because I'd hate to see them go under. I don't want to see them become the next Sega.
Yeah, no, totally. And Sega was in a similar position where they just couldn't keep selling the stuff they were doing. Even though they had great franchises that were old, they tried to rehash them. They make Sonic this, Sonic that. And it's like, well, we kind of all got Sonic'd out.
Right? Exactly. And I mean, I think they could. see a small spike in profits if they did what everyone keeps asking for and published some of their classic titles for put them out on Android or put them out on iPhone or whatever to get them out there. I I think some of that would sell a little bit, but it's not going to solve the problem. It's a band-aid solution at best.
Yeah,
Well,
totally.
Nintendo, I hope you figure it out. I really, really hope you figure it out because I want to feel like I need to buy the next Nintendo console. I want to feel that jealousy that my friends have this console and I don't. And right now I feel that for PlayStation 4. I would buy a PlayStation 4 if it was in my budget right now. There's a number of titles on there I would love to get my hands on, but for the Wii, I just don't have that urge. I do when I'm playing it. I love playing it, but it's not enough to capture me, to capture my money. But that moves us into our second topic, which I do want. We're on a little bit long, so I just want to cover it briefly. I think we both have a couple of thoughts to chime in on it. And this is an article from Gizmodo on simple ideas to stop crowdfunding scams. It's an article written by Ashley Feinberg on concepts to help protect investors in these crowdfunding programs. So often now, scams are becoming more rampant, and even projects that aren't intended to be scams but just end up drying up and blowing away with nothing to show for it are becoming more and more common as more and more people are bellying up to these possibly easy money solutions. With some good marketing and some good visuals, it can be really easy to get quite a bit of money in your pocket from one of these crowdfunding services. And so, as an investor, it's becoming more and more important to make sure that you're really vetting the projects you put your money into. And there's a couple of things that this article goes into. One of them is the idea of optional insurance that's apparently being offered by a couple of products on Indiegogo. The example here is a product called the Olive. It's a stress management wearable, and Indiegogo is offering a $15 insurance policy that you get your money back if you don't receive your Olive within 3 months after the estimated delivery date, which is a really interesting concept. The Olive campaign closed. It was looking for $100 million. It scored $181 million. And along with your purchase, they offered insurance. And of that
Oh
insurance,
my God.
only 3 of the 25 that were offered were claimed. But what
181 million. $181 million.
thousand.
181,000. Wow.
But yeah, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. And for $15, you could buy in to get insurance on your backing of, in this case, $40. They're asking 40 to get in on picking one of these guys up. Or no, sorry, I take that back. They were asking for a $40 reserve, and then you pay 110 later. So they were looking for $150 for the final product. But what do you think? Have you been scammed on any crowdfunding? Have you been burnt yet?
Luckily not. I don't invest in any campaigns that are what's that model? Continual funding or whatever, where they get the money regardless.
Oh, flexible funding on Indiegogo.
Yeah, I won't. I will not invest in any of those. I also don't invest in companies that could clearly pay for their own R&D and venture. Like I don't. I'm not gonna buy. I'm not gonna crowdfund something that they could easily make because they're an established company with supply lines and products already on the market. And I usually don't invest in the really expensive projects either. I've been pretty tempted on some of them, but it's just like, the more money they're dealing with, the more complex product they're trying to design, the higher chance they can fail. So luckily, no, I haven't. And any project that's really good will succeed, and I can always buy it afterwards for whatever the marginal price increase for the retail version is. So I have not been taken on any of the crowdfunding donations yet, but it's only a matter of time.
Yeah, and that's what I noticed. I haven't been burned yet either, at least not officially. I've backed about four different software projects, all of them different games, and most of them are a year past their ship date, if that. Now, thankfully, all of these development projects are still in communication. They're still posting regular updates to backers and keeping me in the loop as to what's going on with development, what's causing delays, and whatnot. But that's, at any time they could just disappear. They're well over their ship date. In fact, my first ever Kickstarter that I backed still hasn't shipped. And I backed that so long ago at this point. Let me see here. It was for a video game. Um,
I'm still waiting on Dragon Fin Soup.
I don't think I backed that one. What was that?
It was a little RPG game, looked pretty cool, but it may,
I backed Space Venture. That's what it was. It's a throwback to the Space Quest game series by Sierra back in the day. Um, and I backed this project way back in June of 2012. 2012.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. The original estimated delivery date was February of 2013. Well, it's December 2014, and I've gotten jack diddly.
Yeah, well, so there's that.
Right? And like I said, it's not a scam. I mean, they're in touch. They're very much keeping up on what's going on, why there's delays, showing updates and small code snippets here or there of project work that's been completed. But at what point, do you consider the fact that your investment has been scammed if someone doesn't have their act together well enough to get a product out the door in a timely manner?
Yeah, who knows? Hopefully you'll get a game eventually, but what are you gonna do? Yeah,
Right?
I'm looking forward to possibly having better ways to, because I think crowdfunding is great simply because it helps our fellow inventors and creative types and folks who want to build something, want to create their own business, get a foot off the ground even when the economy is in a shaky place still. But at the same time, I am losing some faith in our capability to do so uh, in good faith. Seeing a lot of the projects I'm seeing pop up, we were just Ben and I were just looking at a list of projects. Some got funded, some didn't. That were effectively impossible, including multiple perpetual motion machines. And it's like, are you serious? Like, this is thermodynamics 101, man. Energy is always conserved. I don't know. It's just like seeing these things pop up there and then accruing money is just like, who allowed this to be posted on their website and take money in? This is clearly impossible. Anyways, yeah, I'm just hoping that we'll perfect how we do this so that those who really are out there to truly make a project and who are ready to get started can have the chance to, and those who are either loony or crooks can go away.
Right. Exactly. And going back to the article on Engadget or Gizmodo. You know, I don't really know. I have mixed feelings about the insurance idea. I mean, it's offered by Indiegogo. I'd have to sit down and read the terms of the insurance. I don't know what those are. Um, it says doesn't you don't receive your olive within 3 months after the estimated delivery date, but I'm sure there's some catches in there, some legalese. So
Yeah, I think that insurance may need to be baked into the whole system
right,
more
exactly.
than an optional purchase. It may need to be baked into the projects themselves. May have to produce, an extra 10% or whatever their projected goal is, so they can pay the insurance or not, and all that. And obviously, there's not going to be any on a flexible funding project, which I don't even. The fact those are offered is a little bit ridiculous in my opinion. I think that idea is just like what.
Yeah. And interestingly, I mean, I don't know if this is part of Indiegogo's plan with offering insurance or not, as this was the first campaign it was spotted under. But the Olive was a fixed funding campaign, so they only got their money if it met their goal. So, you know, I could see that being part of that. A flex funding campaign, you've made the decision that you're giving your money to these people, whether they make it or not. Whereas fixed funding, there's a sort of tit for tat expectation there, and if they don't hold up their end of the bargain, you can cash in that insurance. But we'll see. I think it's a problem that needs to be solved. I don't know if insurance directly is the way to solve it, but I'm glad that at least somebody is trying to give backers some sort of protection from these scams. All right. Well, that wraps us up for the evening. Really good show. Thank you again for joining me, Eric. I think we got a good discussion this evening. Any
Agreed.
closing thoughts you want to put out there?
No, sir, not today.
All right. Well, I do want to mention. We mentioned it last week. I want to mention it again. Cleodonia. It's a great RPG Kickstarter from a friend of Eric's. It's got 28 hours to go. It's in the home stretch. It's severely underfunded, which is sad. I would love to see this campaign fund. I think it's a great idea. It's a great looking game. I'd love to get my hands on the full thing. I've backed it to make sure I pick up a copy of the game, of the printed game. And if you're a fan of Dungeons and Dragons or anything like that, I think this is something you'd really enjoy playing.
I was talking with my friend. He's prepared for the Kickstarter not to work, and he's thinking about going for print on demand, which is a little less expensive, which is a little bit more expensive per book, and it also makes it difficult to offer to sale to local game shops. But he's still moving forward with Cleodonia, but it looks like the Kickstarter will most likely not succeed unless we have some real heroes come here and hit it in the last day. It's currently at 1,300 out of a little under $6,000, so it's pretty far, but yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm glad to hear that he, you know, is at least looking at other options because I think he's got a great product on his hands. Apparently, for whatever reason, you know, Kickstarter hasn't really gotten the traction I think it deserves, but you're competing with hundreds of thousands other Kickstarters out there for dollars. It's a hard marketplace.
One last thing I'd like to say. I was just thinking about this. We mentioned failed projects in our previous discussion. Just to wrap that up, kind of with one last thought.
Yeah.
I was very close to donating to a project called the Earl, which is like a hiking tablet. I think I showed it to you before.
Yeah, I think we
Um,
mentioned it a little bit in one of our previous shows.
yeah, that if I had invested in that, it would have been a failure because it looked like it was all very possible, but the guys who were running the campaign and had the plans just kind of dropped the ball in a lot of ways. And it's unfortunate because you can still find the website out there, and they received a ton of money for it. But it's one of those projects that most likely will just never come to fruition.
Yeah, and it's disappointing because I mean that project particularly. Had I known about it, I probably would have tried to jump in on picking it up as well. It was a great product, but what are you going to do?
Great idea. It'll
Yeah,
never be a product.
but something
All
has
right.
there has to
Yeah.
be some solution.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get ourselves out of here. Let everyone get back to their evening. Please subscribe to the show, techtwiceweekly.com. We've got the RSS feed up there. You can get directly, or we're in iTunes, Stitcher, Blueberry, where all fine podcasts are found. We're also on Twitter at TechTwiceWeekly, and you can email us feedback at TechTwiceWeekly. If you've got a news story you'd like us to cover, or just some feedback on the show, positive, negative, we take it all. I'd love to, hear what you think and share feedback on the show. If it's something you want us to read, just let me know. But thank you for listening. Oh, I should say, I apologize, but there will not be a show this Thursday again. I'll be traveling, so um, it's hard to do a show on the road. But we'll be back Monday for sure, and that should put us back on schedule. I don't have any other conflicts for the rest of the foreseeable future. So we'll be back next Monday. Have a good weekend early, since I won't be talking to everybody again. And have a good night, everybody.